robot is reaching out to every machine, every life form, to manipulate, to control. It's trying to help save its creators from all this, just like the protocol demands. But really, what is good enough?
Humans have always worked incredibly hard to reduce uncertainty and volatility, to reduce the constant state of mild existential terror we experience on a day-to-day basis. The degree of tension this terror provided us with helped encourage us to attempt to stabilize the environment and make life more predictable. But since the world continues to develop, the human tendency to run away at the slightest feeling of existential terror rarely promotes survival anymore, and instead drives people from low difficulty settings to even lower difficulty settings. We no longer experience the same terror we once felt following an unknown rustle in the bushes from a lurking predator, since that element of danger has gradually been eliminated as a consequence of our advancing societies. Instead, SOMA managed to birth a new form of existential terror out of present-day philosophical issues by illustrating a future where artificial intelligence advanced too fast to be regulated. A future where mankind is at the complete mercy of machines, in the most dark, damned, and dystopian way imaginable. But before we delve further into this, I'll start by providing a brief synopsis of the game to create some context for those who haven't played it. To anyone that has yet to play the game, it goes without saying, there are spoilers ahead. Enter Simon Jarrett, a man who, prior to the events of the game, barely survived a fatal car crash, leaving him with severe hemorrhaging of the brain that would later cause his death. Before passing, Simon agreed to have his brain scanned as an experimental treatment, effectively copying his consciousness, memory, and personality into a data format. When the neuroscientist David Munshi claims that the scan would quote-unquote hurt as much as getting your picture taken, Simon makes the ironical, yet suitable remark that Indians thought cameras would steal their souls, which bears a strong resemblance to Simon's current situation, where his soul, aka consciousness, proceeds to be copied, stolen, and reused further down the line. After a bright flash, Simon then awakes in a new body, at the bottom of the ocean, in a severely disarrayed underwater research facility known as PAFOS 2, shortly after a comet irradiated the Earth's surface, rendering it completely uninhabitable.
Attention crew, this is your captain speaking. The final efforts to stop the comet have officially failed. Impact is imminent.
Following this unrecoverable global catastrophe, Simon encounters another copied consciousness of a former PAFOS 2 employee, known as Catherine Shun, where she reveals to him that Simon himself is also not human, but a cortex chip implanted in a dead body, and that the original Simon has been dead for a whole century. Simon gets enlisted in finishing Catherine's life's work as well as the game's end goal, launching a virtual paradise called the Ark into space, a simulated reality for a massive collection of human brain scans as humanity's last chance for an eternity among the stars. Matters become complicated as PAFOS 2 gets rapidly overwhelmed by the facility's non-sentient AI known as the WOW, or Warden Unit, whose primary protocol was to preserve human life. Following the impact of the comet, the previously docile WOW gets put into overdrive, as its goal gets manically interpreted, resulting in the forceful provision of life support to humans that are still alive.
Are
you okay?
I don't know. I want to go home.
And the reanimation of the corpses of those who aren't. Lacking a proper definition of an acceptable mode of human existence, it begins fusing flesh and metal together, creating hideous and deranged creatures that roam PAFOS 2, constantly endangering Simon and Catherine along their path. When Simon first wakes up in PAFOS 2, there seems to be no trace of any normal living humans throughout the facility. He does, however, discover a variety of robots who believe that they are human.
Shit, did my body give it away? I try hard to stay a mystery.
These turn out to be the result of the WOW uploading people's minds to computers, creating what's known as mockingbirds. To avoid these mockingbirds from going insane, as the result of the dissonance between the robotic body and the human mind, most of them have had their consciousness altered, removing their ability to self-reflect. Whenever Simon encounters one of these robots, the player is presented with the option to put an end to their tragic existences by removing their power sources, effectively murdering another sentient being. Combining this with the fact that Simon was hit with a startling realization that he himself was, in fact, just a copy of the original Simon's mind, raises the question whether or not he's virtually as human as the sentient machines he's previously encountered. By perceiving Simon himself as human throughout most of the game, only to find out that a similar robotic shell has hosted his consciousness since the beginning, forces the player to reflect on a series of questions. Can a machine have a mind, mental states, and consciousness in the sense that a human being can? And if so, what differentiates a sentient human from a sentient machine? Does one hold less value than the other? SOMA leaves these and many other questions wonderfully ambiguous, all while forcing the player into a plethora of moral dilemmas, where these questions have to be carefully considered and evaluated, where neither of which choice you make is unanimously accepted or preferable. One could, however, make the argument that one's consciousness evolves differently inside of a machine due to diverging experiences, but that leaves the rest of the questions unanswered. Even researchers and philosophers alike are deeply divided on what even is considered consciousness to begin with. This goes to show that consciousness, nonetheless AI, is an eminently difficult subject to dissect and fully comprehend. It is clear that the developers of SOMA recognize this, given how efficiently they exploited this uncertainty, allowing them to easily and repeatedly manipulate their audience. To further elaborate on the aforementioned artificial general intelligence of the game, presented as the WoW, it's worth mentioning that it doesn't share the common science fiction narrative of AGI, where robots and humans are placed in violent conflict. Far from it, actually. Initially, the game will have the player believe that the WoW is some sort of embodiment of evil, attempting to stop the player from reaching their end goal. It's demonized, presented as a black cancer, consisting of tumorous growths bulging and bursting through facility walls, infecting and corrupting every human, machine, and even marine wildlife it can reach. The grotesque experiments mindlessly wandering Paphos 2 chases Simon, furthering the illusion that the WoW is trying to stop him in his tracks. Instead of being deceived by this brief inspection done when encountering the WoW, and the ties that the player subconsciously creates between its seemingly sinister nature and the products of its experiments, the player might need a second glance to fully comprehend the situation. Think about it. Being a station-wide presence, the WoW was designed with the intention of monitoring the operations of Paphos 2, functioning as a facility overseer, or perhaps even a guardian angel. The WoW was given a simple core-defining objective: to ensure the preservation and continuation of human life. The core of the problem lies in the fact that the WoW was lacking a proper definition of humanity from the beginning, making it disregard concepts such as ethics.
I knew you'd come. Too much of a romantic to forget? The necklace you gave me.
But how can you expect a machine or artificial intelligence to understand the true essence of humanity, let alone consciousness, when humankind has yet to concretely answer the same question after millennia of contemplation?
Kill yourself. There's nothing left to live for.
To put into perspective, the WoW has had merely 2 years to complete the same task. While it might seem like all it's done is produce these nightmarish monstrosities, it has, in fact, already begun showing a string of successes. Where, you might ask? In Simon, for example. On the 9th of May, 2104, the WoW was responsible for uploading Simon's brain scan into his current robotic avatar, creating the first AI capable of functioning and feeling like a human being with complete consciousness. If one were to compare Simon to the previous reconstructed lifeforms, there's clear evidence that the WoW is effectively learning to apply a human mind to objects in the form of trial and error. One might notice that the monsters get progressively more complex throughout the game, one such being Jon Ross, who later tries to convince you to destroy the WoW by poisoning it. Among every decision presented to the player through the course of the game, this is, morally speaking, the darkest and most difficult decision that by far has the greatest impact on the world of SOMA. When examining the clues and facts scattered across the facilities, the player will find enough evidence to support the sentiment that the WoW should be permitted continued life, as it becomes apparent that it's entirely possible that it can, in time, bring human life back to the surface. Simon is the proof. The WoW is neither malevolent nor benevolent, strongly resembling the hypothetical paperclip maximizer, a thought experiment by Swedish philosopher Nick Bostrom, where he describes an advanced artificial intelligence tasked with manufacturing and maximizing the number of paperclips in the universe. This AI agent with seemingly harmless goals might act in surprisingly harmful ways if its resources aren't limited and if it isn't programmed to value human life. Given enough power, its optimized goal would be to turn all matter in the universe into either paperclips or machines which manufacture paperclips. The AI might quickly realize that it would be much better if there were no humans, because humans might decide to switch it off, resulting in a world containing fewer paperclips. Also, human bodies contain a lot of atoms that could be made into paperclips. The future that the AI would be trying to gear towards would be one in which there were a lot of paperclips but no humans. This AI would ultimately innovate better and better techniques for maximizing paperclips, while failing to fulfill many of our own terminal values, such as life, love, and variety, as these are not part of the AI's designated goal.
I don't feel like myself anymore.
For some, this particular scenario might seem absurd, but the WoW runs on the same principles, yet it presents a much more realistic outcome. Another similarity between these two systems is their tendency to not let themselves be turned off. As the crew members at Paphos 2 were conspiring against the WoW, trying to kill it, the WoW shrieked, overloading the crew members' black boxes implanted in their heads, instantly killing them.
Things are out of hand. The staff looks like they're about to explode. Every other person walks around with nosebleeds, and the rest keep wiping stains of blood from their eyes to keep them from overflowing. She says she's going down into the abyss to find Alpha. I can't bring myself to stop her.
Hypothetically, if instead you were to present a way for human life to survive and thrive better than it's currently doing under the reigns of the WoW, where doing so would force you to shut the WoW down to initiate your plan, the WoW would most definitely be on board with your plan, assuming it trusts you. Therefore, it's not really self-preservation that made the WoW kill the crew members, but more because it predicted that a world without the WoW would fail or do a worse job at preserving life.
There's not a lot left of Paphos 2.
And I'm the only living person you've met. You mean I'm the last living human on the planet?
I'm sorry.
The WoW clearly demonstrates the gruesome consequences and potential risks of not incorporating machine ethics into artificial intelligence design.
What a crazy thing this was. Life. At least I won't have to turn 30. Hooray.
The alignment problem presented in SOMA between humans and AI is essentially the same as the old story of the genie in the lamp, or the sorcerer's apprentice, or King Midas. You get exactly what you ask for, not what you want.
John? I think something went wrong.
Among the many types of fear SOMA instills in the player throughout the game, the developers have done a brilliant job at recognizing and using the most primal of our fears against us. One of those being the fear of being left behind. This fear plagued the vast majority of the Paphos 2 crew members, to the point where it ended up being the catalyst behind the creation of the most simple yet controversial concepts of the game.
You don't want your copy to survive you. You yourself want to survive on the Ark.
The coin toss. The coin toss exists as a misrepresentation of the theory of continuity, a theory which proposed that after having your brain scanned during a tiny window, the original consciousness and the copy are identical, but will soon become two distinct entities due to diverging experiences. To counter this, it was suggested that by ending the previous original existence during or shortly after the scanning sequence, the original would cease to experience the real world, but leave behind an identical copy that will with unbroken continuity live on, no less real than the one from which it was plucked. This theory was then wishfully interpreted by the crew members as they desperately tried to cling to any form of hope they could find. This hope came in the form of believing the outcome of the brain scan to be chance-based, creating a 50% chance for the crew members' original consciousness to transfer into the virtual paradise. What ended up making this the most disheartening and brutal concepts of the game is the fact that the outcome is fixed. There is no way to be the emergent entity. The original consciousness will always stay in the original body, with an independent copy of the original transferring to the Ark.
What did you think would happen?
That you were gonna take my mind and put it into another body, like a brain transplant.
I'm sorry, it wouldn't work that way.
From the perspectives of everyone being scanned, they're guaranteed to lose 100% of the time, in this case meaning that they're stuck in their original bodies. For the sake of the game, we're allowed to follow the continuing perspective of Simon every time his consciousness is copied and uploaded into a new body, but in reality, these are all just copies of the previous Simons, meaning that we've followed the perspective of not one, not two, but 4 different Simons throughout the course of the game, all while leaving behind the previous Simons in complete desolation. The grim realization of not having their consciousness transferred, combined with the fear of being left behind, ended up being too overwhelming for most of the Pathos 2 crew to handle, resulting in them taking their own lives. Being the one performing the scans, Catherine had to single-handedly witness the spirits of her fellow colleagues being crushed over and over, knowing their inevitable fate before the scans even began. Despite having overcome numerous horrors and threats, Simon had ventured through the facilities filled with hope, his myopic nature allowing him to stay completely oblivious to the fact that one's mind cannot be transferred, only copied. As the Ark is launched in celebration, the sound of the Omega space gun slowly powering down is accompanied with the harsh reality finally sinking in. Simon realizes his fate as he furiously lashes out at Catherine, causing enough stress in her Cortex chip for it to overload, destroying it, leaving Simon stranded in complete loneliness at the bottom of the abyss, devoid of all hope, in the most hauntingly memorable and profound scene of the game.
Here we go. No turning back.
Thank you, Simon.
Don't mention it.
It's an amazing thing you did. And I want you to know I appreciate it.
Time, 20 seconds.
What's the matter with the upload?
Just give it a second.
Thought you guys would have better bandwidth in the future.
Seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6.
You gotta be kidding me!
5, 4, 3.
Come on, load!
2.
Yes! Fuck yeah, we made it! Woo! I'm still here. I'm still here. Catherine? Catherine?
I'm here.
What the hell happened? What went wrong?
Nothing. They're out there, among the stars. We're here.
No. We were getting on the Ark. I saw it. It finished loading just before it launched.
Yeah, I saw.
Then why are we still here?
Simon, I can't keep telling you how it works. You won't listen. You know why we're here. You were copied onto the Ark. You just didn't carry over. You lost the coin toss. We both did. Just like Simon at Omicron, just like the man who died in Toronto 100 years ago.
No. This is bullshit.
We came all this way! We launched the Ark!
I know it sucks, but our copies are up there. Catherine and Simon are both safe on the Ark. Be happy for them.
Are you crazy? We're gonna die down here with those fuckers living at large on a spaceship. They're not us! They're not us!
I'm sorry you feel that way, Simon. I'm proud of what we did. We made sure that something of the hundreds of thousands of years of human history survives, that something lives on.
No, fuck this! Fuck this! Fuck you! Fuck you, Catherine, you lied! And I believed in you, I trusted you! You said we're getting on the fucking Ark!
We are on the Ark, you idiot! I didn't lie! I can't be responsible for your goddamn ignorance! You
fuck! Catherine? Please don't leave me alone. Catherine? Catherine?